There's something quietly powerful about deciding to change so completely that even your reflection doesn't recognize you anymore, not out of vanity, not out of shame, but because the person you were no longer matches the person you're becoming. Most people wait for life to force them into a change, a breakup, a rock bottom, a wake-up call. But the truth is, you don't need permission. You don't need a dramatic fall to rise. You just need a decision, a private moment where you draw a line and say, that version of me ends here. Transformation is not a lightning strike. It's not sudden. It's a slow, intentional, and often lonely journey of daily decisions. And here's the part no one tells you. The most radical glow-up isn't physical. It's internal. It's quiet confidence replacing loud insecurity. It's clarity silencing chaos. It's self-respect killing the need for external validation. When you shift the way you see yourself, the world has no choice but to follow. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who you actually are, before the noise, before the programming, before the compromises. The next 90 days could either pass you by in a blur of routine, or they could be the foundation of the most powerful chapter of your life. The one where you finally stop playing small. The one where you stop explaining yourself to people who'll never understand. The one where you rebrand, not to impress, but to liberate. If you've been waiting for the right moment to start, it's not coming. The right moment is now. And if you commit fully, you won't just change. You'll become unrecognizable. 1. Face the truth. You can't change what you refuse to confront, and this is where most people fail before they even begin. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack potential, but because they're too afraid to look at themselves without filters, excuses, or distractions. The first step to becoming unrecognizable isn't some fancy new habit, aesthetic rebrand, or vision board. It's the uncomfortable decision to stop lying, especially to yourself. Ask yourself, what part of your life are you pretending is fine when deep down you know it's slowly destroying you? Is it the body you've neglected, the ambition you've buried under comfort, the relationships you've outgrown but still cling to out of fear? Most people numb the truth with productivity. They'll work overtime, read self-help books, or chase shallow goals, not because they're serious about growth, but because it keeps them busy enough to avoid the mirror. But real transformation demands that you stop looking away. There's a quote by Carl Jung that echoes this perfectly. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. That includes pretending that next Monday will be different. That includes labeling rock bottom as just a phase. That includes dressing up a coping mechanism and calling it a personality. But the longer you avoid truth, the deeper the rot spreads. And by the time it surfaces, it's no longer just about bad habits. It's your identity that starts to decay. Facing the truth isn't about guilt. It's about clarity. It's about finally turning on the lights in a room you've kept dark for too long, knowing that only in that light can you clean up the mess. When you're radically honest about where you are, you gain something most people never have: the power to move forward with intention. You stop blaming your past, your parents, your job, your city, your circumstances, and you realize it's not them, it's you. It's always been you. But here's the part that stings and liberates. If you're responsible for the problem, you're also responsible for the solution, and that is good news, because it means you don't have to wait on anyone to get better. You can start now, today, with whatever pain, shame, or fear you're carrying. You don't have to heal before you begin. You begin, and through that, healing finds you. So, what's the truth you've been running from? What have you accepted as normal simply because it's familiar? And more importantly, are you willing to sit with it, not for punishment, but for power? This is your mirror moment, not to judge yourself, but to see clearly. And from that clarity, to begin the kind of transformation that isn't cosmetic, but cellular, the kind that doesn't just change how you look. It changes how you walk into rooms. It changes what you tolerate. It changes the story you tell yourself every morning. Transformation isn't loud. It begins in silence, in solitude, in the private decision to face the hardest truth of all, that you were meant for more, and you've known it all along. 2. Cut the dead weight. There's a moment in every transformation where silence becomes louder than applause, and that moment often comes right after you let go of what's been quietly killing you. We talk a lot about growth, but we rarely talk about the brutal act that makes it possible, cutting the dead weight, not gently letting go, not setting it aside for later, but severing ties with people, with habits, with thought patterns that once made sense, but now just make you smaller. Let's start with people. You already know who they are, the ones who drain your energy, but wear the mask of friend. The ones who constantly complain, but never evolve. The ones who belittle your ideas, mock your changes, and try to convince you that your growth is somehow arrogance. These aren't friends, these are anchors, and no ship rises with an anchor tied to its back. It just sinks, slowly, painfully, silently. There's a dangerous myth that says you owe everyone kindness, time, and space. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because they've known you a long time. Longevity is not the same as loyalty. And not everyone who started with you is meant to finish the journey. Some people are chapters, not constants. Holding on to them doesn't prove love. It proves fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of judgment. Fear of starting over. But what if letting go is not the end, but the beginning? Seneca once wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." That's not just good advice, it's survival. Your inner world becomes a reflection of your outer circle. If you surround yourself with people who settle, who justify mediocrity, who never confront their demons, you'll soon begin to echo their mindset without even realizing it. You'll begin to think that your dreams are too much, your discipline is obsessive, and your standards are unrealistic. But here's a secret the Stoics understood. Those who are threatened by your growth are revealing their own unwillingness to rise. Now, beyond people, there are the habits, those small, seemingly harmless routines that become rituals of stagnation. Staying up late, scrolling endlessly, waking up with no purpose, eating like your body doesn't matter, talking like your words carry no power. These things add up. Slowly, they redefine you. They numb your ambition, steal your discipline, and blur your sense of self. The danger of bad habits isn't that they ruin you overnight. It's that they convince you nothing's wrong while they quietly erode everything. And then there are the thoughts, the internal script that plays on repeat. I'm not ready. I'll never be enough. What if I fail? These thoughts might feel honest, but they're not truthful. They're just familiar. And familiarity is not the same as fact. Most people never outgrow these voices because they've confused comfort with clarity. But the Stoic mind knows, if your thoughts are your cage, your thoughts must also be your key. You can't think like a victim and rise like a warrior. At some point, you have to choose. So how do you cut the dead weight? Start ruthlessly. Audit your life like a strategist, not a sentimentalist. Ask yourself, Does this relationship fuel or drain me? Does this habit build or break me? Does this thought empower or paralyze me? And when the answer is clear, act. With compassion, but without apology. Because every maybe you cling to is a yes you delay. And every compromise you make with your old self is a betrayal of your future self. But let me be honest, this isn't easy. You will lose people. You will grieve the habits that once gave you comfort. You will feel lost in the space between your old life and your new one. That's the price. But that's also the point. The cocoon must break for the wings to form. The identity must crack for the truth to surface. The pain of shedding is the beginning of rising. There's a reason most people don't change. It's not because they don't want to. It's because they refuse to sacrifice comfort for clarity. But if you truly want to become unrecognizable in 90 days, you have to clear space for the new you to exist. Not just in your schedule, in your soul. You have to stop managing dysfunction and start eliminating it. You have to stop playing nice with what keeps you average. Because growth doesn't come from adding more. It comes from subtracting what no longer fits. You're not here to carry dead weight. You're here to fly, and flight requires lightness, not just of body, but of spirit. So today, cut what's been quietly cutting you. Step back from the noise. Distance yourself from the drama. Block the energy that keeps you looping. Reclaim your right to be selective, focused, and free. Because every ounce of weight you drop, mentally, emotionally, socially, becomes fuel for the fire that transforms you. Let go, not with guilt, but with gratitude, because every goodbye is a declaration. I am no longer who I used to be, and I will no longer act like it. 3. Reset your environment. You can't plant a seed in polluted soil and expect it to grow. The same principle applies to your personal growth. If your environment doesn't support your evolution, it will slowly kill your ambition. And the most dangerous part? You won't even notice it happening, not at first, because environments don't always attack directly. They erode subtly. They whisper distractions, normalize chaos, and quietly convince you that this is just how life is. But if you're serious about becoming unrecognizable in the next 90 days, you need to take a hard look around you, not just metaphorically, physically, where you live, where you work, where you rest. The spaces you spend your time in are either shaping your discipline or sabotaging it. Walk into your room right now. Is it clean, organized, and ready for greatness? Or is it cluttered, chaotic, and filled with reminders of your older self? The state of your environment reflects the state of your inner world. A messy room often signals a messy mind. A disordered routine often hides a lack of clarity. A noisy workspace often drowns out focused energy. Marcus Aurelius understood this connection long before neuroscience ever confirmed it. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." But we now know that it's not just our thoughts that color our soul. It's also our surroundings. Bright, clean, minimal spaces reduce stress and enhance focus. Environments with natural light and order stimulate calm and creativity. Meanwhile, clutter, physical or digital, increases cortisol and scatters your ability to think clearly. So if you want to level up, start by stripping down. Clear the clutter. Throw away what no longer aligns with the person you're becoming. That old hoodie that reminds you of who you were in college. Let it go. That drawer full of junk just in case. It's anchoring you to indecision. That chaotic desktop on your computer filled with 47 half-finished projects. It's not harmless. It's mental noise disguised as productivity. Next, look at your digital environment. Your phone isn't just a device. It's a portal. It's either a tool for creation or a trap for distraction. Who do you follow? What do you consume daily? Every image, quote, video, and post leaves a trace in your subconscious. You become what you repeatedly expose yourself to. So clean your feed like your future depends on it. Because it does. Follow those who inspire action, not those who manufacture envy. Then rebuild with intention. Don't just clean your space, redesign it. Even small adjustments matter. Add a whiteboard where you write your goals every morning. Keep a book next to your bed instead of your phone. Light a candle before journaling to create a ritual of focus. These aren't aesthetics, they're psychological anchors. They tell your mind, this is who I am now. This is how I live now. Create zones in your environment that reflect your priorities. A corner for reading, a space for workouts, a setup for work that feels like command central, not a folding chair in the corner of chaos. You don't need a mansion to do this. You need clarity, boundaries, and commitment. And don't forget your routines. Environment isn't just about where you live, it's also about how you move. What do your mornings look like? Are they rushed, reactive, filled with stress and screen time? Or are they structured, slow, intentional, and sacred? Most people want a new life, but start their day the same old way. That's a contradiction. If you want to transform, your mornings need to become rituals of power. Imagine this. You wake up without snoozing. You make your bed with pride. You hydrate. You stretch. You write down your goals. You move your body. You eat for energy. You review your calendar with clarity. That's not just a good morning. That's a psychological victory. And when you stack enough of those victories, the world starts to treat you differently because you're treating yourself differently. It's time to reset the environment that raised your old identity, the one where you tolerated clutter, distractions, low standards, and vague intentions. Burn that version, not with hate, but with respect, because it brought you this far. But now, it's time to go farther. The Stoics believed that external order supports internal discipline, that we should align the outer world with the kind of character we want to build inside. And modern science agrees. The cues around you shape your decisions. Your phone placement affects your focus. The foods within reach shape your health. The light in your room influences your mood. The people in your space adjust your mindset. So don't underestimate the power of your surroundings. You don't need to escape the world to change your life. You just need to redesign your corner of it. Rebuild your environment like it's your temple, because it is. 4. Upgrade your look. People say, don't judge a book by its cover. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Everyone does. Before you speak a word, before anyone learns your values or intelligence, the world already has an opinion. That doesn't make people shallow. It makes them human. Visual signals are the oldest language on earth. They convey confidence, energy, discipline, or the lack of it. So if you're aiming to become unrecognizable in 90 days, your external presentation must evolve alongside your inner transformation. Because no matter how strong your mindset becomes, the world interacts first with what it sees. And that means your appearance, your posture, your grooming, your clothing becomes your first message. Let's be clear, this isn't about vanity, it's about alignment. You're not changing your look to impress strangers. You're upgrading your image to reflect the person you are becoming, because when your outer shell evolves, it sends a powerful signal to your brain and to others that you're not who you used to be. Start simple. Look in the mirror and ask, does this version of me look like someone with high standards? If the answer is hesitation, you already know the next step. Begin with grooming, because it's instant, inexpensive, and entirely within your control. Get that haircut you've been delaying. Shave or style that beard with intention. Trim the excess. Polish the basics. Clean nails. Fresh breath. Smell sharp, not loud. This is self-respect in motion. Next, your posture. Walk into a room like you belong there, not like you're apologizing for existing. Head up, shoulders back, eyes forward. Most people carry themselves like they're carrying shame, and the body listens. Slouching drains your energy, collapses your breathing, and invites anxiety. But when you correct your posture, you change your chemistry. Your confidence increases, not by magic, but by better oxygen flow and hormonal shifts. Harvard psychologist Amy Cuddy found that power posing for just 2 minutes boosts testosterone and lowers cortisol. Your stance isn't just an expression, it's a prescription. Then, your clothing. You don't need designer brands or flashy labels. You need clarity. Fit matters more than fashion. Clean matters more than trendy. Simplicity beats chaos. Dress not for attention, but for intention. You're building a brand now, and your brand should say, I'm focused, I'm ascending, I respect myself. And here's something no one tells you. When you improve how you look, people treat you differently. That may seem unfair, but it's true. Clean, well-dressed people are subconsciously associated with discipline, order, and leadership. You'll get more respect, more space, more opportunity. That's not superficial. That's human pattern recognition. But there's another layer. When you show up differently on the outside, your identity starts to shift on the inside. You start to act like the person you see in the mirror. If that person looks disciplined, sharp, and confident, your behavior aligns. You stop slouching through your goals and start moving with purpose. This is why rebranding your look is so powerful. It's not a costume, it's a declaration. You're telling the world, and more importantly, your subconscious, that a new era has begun. In ancient Rome, Stoics believed in the virtue of appearance not for ego, but for self-command. Seneca wrote, "Let your dress be neat, but not fine, simple, but not careless." He understood that your appearance can either support your virtue or distract from it. The goal isn't extravagance, the goal is congruence, to dress like someone who values time, clarity, and purpose. And if you think this doesn't apply to you because you work from home or live alone, think again. The moment you dress with intent, you shift into a different mental state. Try it. Wear what you would wear if your dream client called for a last-minute meeting, or if your future self walked through the door to check in on you. Would they approve of what you're wearing now? Even your space should reflect this upgraded identity. Organize your closet. Get rid of clothes that belong to past seasons of your life. That hoodie from your I gave up era. Donate it. That outfit that makes you feel sluggish or invisible. Trash it. Keep only what supports who you are becoming, not who you used to be. This change also has ripple effects. When people see your transformation, even subtly, it sparks curiosity. It communicates progress without words. And for those who knew the old you, it sends a message. I'm not stuck. I'm evolving. You become an example, a mirror, and sometimes even a challenge to others. And that's powerful. But most importantly, you feel the shift. You walk taller. You speak with more weight. You make different choices. Because the version of you who dresses with clarity also lives with clarity. And that's not about fashion. That's about frequency. You don't have to wait for permission or perfection. You can upgrade your look today. right now, one small step at a time. Because when you start looking like someone with purpose, you start becoming someone with results. 5. Build micro habits daily. If you try to change your entire life overnight, you will fail. Not because you're weak, but because your brain is designed to protect the status quo. Massive change feels like danger to your nervous system. That's why most people set big goals, feel excited for a few days, and then crash into the wall of old habits. But there's another way, a way that's slower, quieter, and infinitely more powerful. It's called the path of micro habits, and it's the real secret to becoming unrecognizable in 90 days. Micro habits are tiny actions, so small, they're almost laughable. Drinking a full glass of water the moment you wake up. Stretching for 2 minutes before you check your phone. Writing one sentence in a journal every morning. Reading one page of a powerful book before bed. Flossing just one tooth. Yes, even that's been studied. These actions don't require motivation. They don't need willpower. But here's what makes them miraculous. Once they begin, they trigger momentum, and momentum changes everything. Most people wait for motivation. They want to feel inspired before they act. But that's backward. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. When you do something, even something small, your brain says, "I'm the kind of person who does this now." And slowly, your identity begins to shift. Let me give you a real example. A man wants to get in shape. He promises himself to hit the gym 5 times a week. He goes twice, then misses a day, then gives up. Why? Because his brain still sees him as someone who skips workouts. But imagine instead he starts smaller. 10 push-ups every morning, before coffee, before anything. He never misses. In a month he's doing 20, then 50. Then he joins a gym, and this time it sticks. Because the habit already lives inside him. This is not a theory, it's neuroscience. The brain wires habits through repetition, not intensity. When something is easy to do, you do it often. When you do it often, it becomes who you are. James Clear calls it casting votes for the kind of person you want to become. Each time you show up, even in a small way, you're casting a vote for your future self. Now imagine compounding this across 90 days. What if you stack 5 or 6 micro habits? A morning walk, a clean workspace, no phone in the first hour, reading 5 pages, cold showers, intentional breathing. In the moment they seem insignificant, but in 3 months, you've restructured the architecture of your daily life. This is how the glow-up happens, quietly, subtly, underneath the surface. Then one day someone says, "You've changed." But it didn't happen overnight. It happened in 5-minute decisions, repeated without drama. Philosopher Will Durant once summarized Aristotle by saying, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. That truth has survived thousands of years because it's unshakable. Your excellence, your transformation, won't come from a single heroic effort. It will come from daily consistency. But here's where most people sabotage themselves. They chase too much at once. They want to journal, meditate, stretch, read, run, cook, build a business, become a monk, all in 1 week. That's not discipline. That's ego, pretending to be ambition. Real transformation is humbler than that. It's patient. It honors the nervous system. It doesn't force, it flows. So, what's the right way to start? Pick 3 micro habits. Make them so simple you can do them on your worst day. Maybe it's waking up and making your bed, not to impress anyone, but to tell your brain the day has structure. Maybe it's 2 minutes of deep breathing, to remind yourself you're in control. Maybe it's writing down one win at the end of the day to reinforce that you're progressing. Then track them. Use a notebook, a calendar, a simple app. Doesn't matter, because what gets tracked grows. You'll miss a day? No problem. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for consistency. The power isn't in being flawless. It's in always coming back. And something beautiful happens after a while. You stop negotiating with yourself. You no longer ask, "Should I do this today?" It just becomes part of who you are. That's when you know the rebrand is working. When effort becomes identity. Here's the final insight. Micro habits are not just about productivity. They're about reclaiming your dignity. Every time you follow through, you're proving to yourself that you can trust your own word. That's rare today. We've become so used to letting ourselves down. But when you start doing what you said you'd do, even in the smallest ways, your self-respect skyrockets. You walk differently. You speak differently. You expect more from the world because you're finally expecting more from yourself. So if you want to be unrecognizable in 90 days, stop thinking about the mountain. Just take the first step. Then repeat. Again and again. And one morning, you'll wake up, look in the mirror, and you won't see the person you used to be. You'll see the version of you that always existed, waiting patiently to be built, one micro habit at a time. 6. Master your calendar. If you want to change your life, start by mastering your time. Not just in theory, but in practice. Your calendar, whether physical or digital, is more than a tool. It's a mirror. It reflects what you really value, not what you say you value. Most people live reactively. They wake up and check their phone. They reply to messages. They deal with urgent things. They jump from task to task, distracted, stressed, constantly trying to catch up. And at the end of the day, they wonder where the time went. But time didn't disappear. It just wasn't owned. It was rented out to other people's agendas. To become unrecognizable in 90 days, you must flip this. You must become the architect of your time. You must run your day like a CEO, not like a confused intern. The first step is awareness. Ask yourself, what does my current schedule say about me? Not what I wish it said, what it actually says. Is it full of junk, distractions, obligations, pointless meetings, social scrolling, filler activities that drain energy but add no value? Or does it reflect a person on a mission? Because if you don't design your time, your old identity will, and your calendar will default to who you used to be, not who you want to become. But when you start taking your schedule seriously, something shifts. You begin to treat your life like it matters. You stop waiting for the perfect mood or the right motivation. You realize that discipline is freedom because it allows you to build the life you truly want. Think of it this way. Your calendar is your commitment to the future version of yourself. So how do you begin? Start simple. Map out the non-negotiables: sleep, meals, exercise, recovery. These are not extras. They are the foundation of performance. Then block out focused work time. This is sacred. No distractions, no multitasking. One task, one block, full presence. Add in learning blocks, time to read, reflect, and grow. Schedule relationship time too, not just with others, but with yourself. Silence, solitude, walks, journaling. These are not luxuries. They are the soil where wisdom grows. Once your week is blocked, the real magic happens in the execution. The best performers don't have more time. They just protect their time more fiercely. They say no more often. They batch their work. They shut off notifications. They move with intention. They are not perfect, but they are present. And presence changes everything. Because when you're fully present with your task, even something small, your brain operates at its highest level. You enter flow. Time stretches. You do more with less effort, and you begin to feel powerful. Not because you're doing more, but because you're finally in control. There's also a psychological effect here. When you put something in your calendar and then honor it, your self-trust increases. You begin to believe your own word. You stop negotiating with yourself. No more, "I'll do it later." No more, "I don't feel like it." You do it because it's scheduled, and that's enough. This may seem rigid at first, especially if you're used to chaos, but what you'll discover is that structure is what sets you free. Chaos drains you, structure supports you. It gives your energy direction. It creates rhythm, and rhythm creates progress. It's worth noting that even the ancient Stoics spoke of time management, though they didn't call it that. Seneca warned us, "People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy." He saw wasted time not just as a practical mistake, but as a moral failure, a betrayal of your own potential. So here's the challenge. Track your next 7 days. Literally write down where your hours go. You'll be shocked. You'll see how much time disappears into nothing, but this is good, because once you see it, you can change it. You can take it back. Build a calendar that reflects your future self, not your past. Use it to become deliberate. Use it to remove friction. Use it to create momentum. And when people see you in 90 days, more focused, sharper, more accomplished, they'll say you've changed. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't magic. It was your calendar. It was the system. It was the quiet, invisible structure you built, day by day, that allowed you to show up as your best self. Time is the most democratic currency in existence. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. What you do with yours, that's the difference between transformation and stagnation. If you want to rebrand yourself, if you want to glow up, if you want to become unrecognizable, don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Schedule it. 7. Push your body. If your mind is the pilot, then your body is the engine, and no transformation will ever last if your engine is weak, neglected, or breaking down. You cannot become unrecognizable while dragging around the same tired, depleted, inflamed vessel that's been holding you back for years. To rise, to evolve, to step into a new identity, you must push your body with the same intensity you push your ambitions. There's no shortcut around this. Physical training is non-negotiable. It is the most primal form of self-respect. When you exercise, when you lift, run, stretch, train, you are not just sculpting your physique. You are sending a message to your entire nervous system. I'm taking control. You're shaking yourself out of stagnation and into motion, because motion rewires emotion, and consistent motion reshapes identity. You don't need to become an athlete. You don't need six-pack abs. What you need is a consistent commitment to feeling strong, light, clean, and capable inside your own skin. You need to train not for appearance, but for energy, for stamina, for discipline, for control. Because when your body is strong, your decisions become easier, your confidence rises, your tolerance for pressure increases, and your self-image evolves with every drop of sweat. Let's be honest, a lot of people claim to be working on themselves, reading books, watching motivational videos, journaling at cafes. But if your body is weak, if you feel sluggish, if your energy is crashing midday, then your transformation is still theoretical. You're living in your head. Real change starts in your blood, your breath, your bones. Your body remembers everything. Every late night, every skipped workout, every sugar binge, every promise you broke to yourself. And your body doesn't lie. It speaks loudest when your willpower is weakest. That's why the fastest way to break your old self-image is through physical effort. Painful effort, the kind that forces you to face yourself, the kind that says, "I'm not the same person anymore." Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But to master the mind, the Stoics also trained the body. They practiced discomfort, cold, heat, fasting, exhaustion, not to suffer, but to grow resilient, to prove to themselves that comfort is not the goal, growth is. Now look at your habits. Are you moving enough? Are you lifting resistance, physical or mental, every single day? If not, you're leaking power. You're outsourcing your energy to stimulants, to distractions, to artificial highs that never last. And you're robbing yourself of the inner fire that comes from earning your own vitality. Start small, but start with intensity. It could be 30 minutes a day. Body weight, gym, running, stretching. The format doesn't matter. What matters is the consistency, the challenge, the mindset. Don't train to look good. Train to feel unshakable, to walk into a room and radiate presence, to sit in silence and feel like a warrior, to look in the mirror and see proof that you keep your promises. And it's not just about exercise. What you eat is what you become. Food is not just fuel, it's information. Every bite you take sends instructions to your cells. Build or break, repair or rot, energize or inflame. If you want to become mentally sharper, emotionally calmer, spiritually deeper, start with your plate. Eat clean, cut the processed garbage, hydrate like it's your job, prioritize sleep like it's sacred, and fast. Not for trends, but for mastery over impulses. Because every time you resist the urge to quit, to indulge, to collapse, you reinforce your new identity. And that identity, that upgraded version of you, is who you're becoming one rep at a time. People will notice. Your posture changes. Your eyes become clearer. Your tone of voice carries weight. Your presence expands without you saying a word. That's the silent reward of pushing your body. It transforms how the world sees you and how you see yourself. In 90 days, you can reshape more than your physique. You can build an unrecognizable foundation of strength that radiates into every other area of life. A weak body makes strong emotions unbearable, but a strong body, it makes hard days feel manageable. It gives you options. It gives you endurance, and it teaches you, through sweat, through soreness, through sacrifice, that the real glow-up is built, not bought. So get up, move, lift, run, sweat. This is your daily rebellion against the old you. This is where transformation starts, not in words, but in work, not in dreams, but in discipline, not in thinking, but in doing. Push your body, and the rest will follow. 8. Rebrand your mind, double asterisk. Before the world ever sees a new version of you, you have to create it, not in your closet, not in your bank account, but in your mind, because no glow-up is real unless it starts from within. You can change your wardrobe, your haircut, your circle, but if the voice in your head is still looping the same old stories, you're just polishing the past. Real reinvention begins with mental rebranding. Every identity you've ever carried was first a thought. Every limitation you've believed in was first an idea. And every time you told yourself, "I can't, I'm not good enough, this is just how I am," you were branding yourself with lies. Not because you're weak, but because nobody ever taught you that your mind is programmable and you are the programmer. So start here. What thoughts are keeping you stuck? What narratives do you replay when you're alone? What labels are you still carrying that were never yours to begin with? Lazy, awkward, broken, average. Who told you that? And why did you believe them? Your brain is a reflection of what you feed it. Most people consume junk, endless scrolling, shallow opinions, clickbait drama, fear-driven news. They fill their minds with noise and wonder why they can't focus. But if you want to become unrecognizable in 90 days, your mental diet has to become elite. That means you feed your brain the way a warrior sharpens a blade, deliberately, daily, and with intent. Read like your future depends on it, not just for entertainment, but for expansion. Study minds greater than yours, philosophers, scientists, builders, strategists. Let their words become bricks in the architecture of your new identity. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And he was right. The vast majority of your pain is not what happened to you. It's the way you've been conditioned to think about it. So break the pattern. Start journaling every morning if you can. Not to be poetic, but to be precise, to observe, to question, to reframe. When you write, you separate signal from noise. You catch the thoughts that have been dragging you backward and pin them to the page like weak opponents in a ring. This is mental training, and every page is a round you win against your old self. Add meditation, not as a spiritual trend, but as a mental reset. 5 to 10 minutes a day is enough to reclaim your focus, to remind yourself that thoughts are just visitors, not facts, that you are not your worries. You are the observer, the driver, the architect. When you meditate, you train stillness, and stillness is the root of self-control. It's also time to rewire your self-talk. No more calling yourself names. No more joking about your failures like they're permanent. Your subconscious doesn't get sarcasm, it gets repetition. So stop programming failure with casual language. Speak with intention. Tell yourself what you are becoming, not what you fear you are. Say it clearly. I am disciplined. I am becoming powerful. I am building a life of purpose. Speak it until it feels true, and then act in alignment with those words. Because when your mind believes, your behavior shifts. And when your behavior shifts, your world changes. This is how you rebrand your mind, not with affirmations alone, but with action. You consume greatness, you speak greatness, you practice greatness, and over time, that becomes your new default. The old thought loops start to fade. The old voices get quieter. And the real you, the one who was buried under years of doubt, starts to rise. People will see it in your presence. Not because you're louder, but because you're clearer. Not because you're arrogant, but because you're grounded. Your eyes will carry a different kind of stillness. Your words will have weight. And your silence will say more than your old identity ever could. So take this seriously. If you want to become unrecognizable, stop thinking like the person you're trying to escape. Rebrand your mind first, and the rest of your transformation will follow like gravity. 9. Surround yourself with winners. If you want to become unrecognizable in 90 days, you must realize something uncomfortable. Your environment is more powerful than your intentions. You might have the best goals, the most ambitious vision, and all the discipline in the world, but if you're surrounded by people who normalize mediocrity, sabotage ambition, and joke about growth, you're running uphill with chains on your ankles. Take a hard look at your circle, not with bitterness, not with arrogance, just honesty. Do the people closest to you inspire you or drain you? Do they light a fire in your spirit or put it out with doubt, distractions, and small talk? Do they celebrate your growth, or do they secretly fear what it means about their own lack of progress? One of the most dangerous prisons is the comfort of familiarity. The friends you've had for years, the co-workers you hang around out of habit, the relationships built on nostalgia rather than growth. They can all become invisible anchors. They don't scream, "Stop growing." They just pull you back, little by little, every time you try to rise. Here's the truth. The fastest way to upgrade your life is to upgrade your circle, not by chasing people out of ego, but by aligning with people who reflect where you're going, not where you've been. Winners talk differently. They think in solutions, not problems. They embrace discomfort because they know that's where growth lives. They don't gossip, they strategize. They don't envy, they support. And they don't panic when life gets hard. They adapt, learn, and move forward. Being around these people rewires your nervous system. It shifts your baseline for what's possible. It forces you to raise your standards, not because they demand it, but because excellence becomes the air you breathe. And just like second-hand smoke can poison you, second-hand ambition can elevate you. If you don't have that circle yet, build it. Start online. Join groups, communities, masterminds. Follow people who live the life you want, not just in terms of money or success, but in discipline, clarity, and energy. Watch how they speak, how they carry themselves, how they manage their time. Mirror the mindset before you mimic the results. At the same time, protect your energy fiercely. That doesn't mean cutting everyone off without compassion. It means setting boundaries with precision. You don't owe unlimited access to anyone just because of history. You don't have to argue or explain your transformation. You just have to live it, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. And watch what happens. Some people will distance themselves, not because you hurt them, but because your growth threatens their comfort zone. Others will try to mock your new habits, your new focus, your glow-up. Let them. You don't need their validation. You need momentum. The same people who laugh at your discipline now will be asking for your advice later. Every time you surround yourself with winners, you absorb new standards. Your default settings change. Laziness becomes unacceptable, excuses become boring, discipline becomes normal, and you begin to feel a shift in your identity, not as a performance, but as a natural evolution. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts of your glow-up journey. You don't outgrow people with ego. You outgrow them with purpose, with clarity, with peace, with results. And the right people, those who are meant to stay, will not only understand, they'll rise with you. So ask yourself, who's in your corner right now? Are they pushing you, reflecting your highest self? Or are they secretly pulling you back with low-energy conversations and disguised envy? Your glow-up is not just physical or mental, it's social. And sometimes, becoming unrecognizable means being willing to let go of the people who only recognize your past. Choose wisely. The company you keep is the future you live. 10. Go public with your transformation. At some point in your transformation, you'll feel the urge to hide, to stay quiet, to work in silence until you're perfect. But here's the paradox. The moment you begin to change, you owe it to yourself, not others, to show up as that new version. Not to prove anything, not to flex, but to reinforce your new identity by living it out loud. When you step into a new version of yourself, you're not just doing it for you, you're doing it for the hundreds of people watching silently, those who need to see proof that change is possible. There's power in being the walking evidence that growth is real, that reinvention is possible, that the you of yesterday doesn't have to define who you are today. Going public doesn't mean broadcasting every meal or workout. It means embodying your change in how you carry yourself. It means updating your style, walking with intention, speaking with clarity. It means showing up online differently. Your posts, your voice, your energy, even your silence. It all tells a story. What story are you telling? Too many people hide in the shadows of their own greatness, waiting for perfection before they dare to be seen. But transformation isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Every day you show up as your new self, you reinforce your own evolution. You strengthen the neural connections that say, "This is who I am now." And the more you act like the person you're becoming, the faster you become them. Remember, confidence is built through exposure. The more you show up, the more you normalize the new you, not just to others, but to yourself. At first, it may feel awkward, like wearing a suit that doesn't quite fit yet. But keep wearing it. Keep speaking, walking, thinking like your future self, until it's no longer something you're trying to be. It's simply who you are. This doesn't mean everyone will applaud. Some will misunderstand your glow-up. Others will downplay it, mock it, or try to ignore it. Let them. They're reacting to the version of you that's no longer available. And the truth is, people don't hate your transformation. They hate their stagnation. Your growth forces them to confront what they've been avoiding. By going public, you create accountability. You tell the world, "This is where I'm going. Watch me," and that subtle pressure to live up to your own standard. That's fuel. Use it. Let it sharpen your discipline. Let it remind you every morning that you're not just improving, you're reintroducing yourself to the world, not as someone new, but as who you were always meant to be. So post the progress picture, launch the project, start the YouTube channel, speak your truth, change your look, set a new tone, walk into rooms differently. Don't apologize for your evolution. The people who matter will celebrate it, and those who don't were never meant to walk the path with you. There's no more room for shrinking to fit old environments. From this point forward, let your presence speak for the standards you now live by. Let people see you glow up, because in doing so, you remind them they can too. 11. Track the journey. Double asterisk. Change can feel invisible when you're in the middle of it. You wake up every day inside your own mind, your own body, and you don't notice the subtle shifts, the deeper calm, the stronger discipline, the clearer thoughts. But over time, if you're doing the work, everything begins to move. That's why one of the most powerful tools for personal transformation is this: documentation. You must track the journey, not for likes, not for validation, but for awareness. There's something quietly powerful about looking back at a photo you took 90 days ago, realizing your posture has changed, your eyes are sharper, your skin clearer, your energy more focused. There's something humbling about reading a journal entry from a month ago and realizing how much more grounded your thoughts are today. The proof is there, but only if you preserve it. We live in a culture obsessed with instant results, but internal transformation doesn't shout. It whispers, it builds slowly, it moves like roots, unseen yet powerful, and unless you track your journey, you might miss your own growth. You might forget just how far you've come. And in forgetting, you risk falling back into the version of yourself that once doubted whether change was even possible. So take the photo, record the voice note, write the journal entry, log your habits, even if it feels small, especially when it feels small, because those insignificant entries, they become the map of your evolution. They're the moments you'll look back on when the motivation fades. They'll remind you, I've done hard things before. I can do this too. Think of it like sculpting. A sculptor doesn't strike once and create a masterpiece. It's 1,000 micro-cuts, subtle refinements and patient shaping. That's your life. And if you track each step, you'll start to see the form emerging, the rough edges smoothing, the power taking shape. And yes, there will be days you feel like nothing is changing, days when the mirror reflects the same face, days when your mind still spirals, days when the scale doesn't move or your energy drops. But those are precisely the days when tracking matters most. Because progress isn't about how you feel, it's about what you do despite the feeling. By building a record of your process, you create a foundation that can't be shaken by emotion. When doubt creeps in, and it will, you'll have evidence, proof, that you've shown up, that you've pushed forward, that you've already survived things you once thought would break you. Even more, tracking your journey cultivates gratitude. You start to notice the little wins, the 5 a.m. you actually got up, the meal you chose with intention, the moment you paused instead of reacting. Those moments add up, and when you capture them, you teach your mind to focus on growth, not gaps. This isn't about being obsessive. It's about being intentional. Your life is worth documenting, your growth is worth celebrating, and your future self is going to thank you for not leaving this journey to memory alone. So start today. Pick up a journal, create a note on your phone, take a photo, record your voice, and tomorrow, do it again. Don't let your glow-up go undocumented, because one day, someone will ask how you did it, and you'll be able to show them, and more importantly, you'll be able to show yourself. 12. Stay relentless. The final phase of any transformation isn't pretty, it's not glamorous, it doesn't come with applause. It's that quiet, gritty middle where the excitement is gone, the novelty is worn off, and nobody's watching anymore. It's where most people quit, not because they're weak, but because they expected the fire to last forever. But if you want to become unrecognizable, if you want to look back 90 days from now and barely recognize the person you used to be, you must do one thing above all: stay relentless. Being relentless isn't about grinding yourself into exhaustion. It's about refusing to make excuses when the energy dips. It's about moving forward when the results are invisible. It's choosing your new identity over and over again, even on the days when your mind screams for comfort. Most people break not because they lacked potential, but because they lacked endurance. The real glow-up isn't about the first 2 weeks when motivation is high. It's about day 56, when your back hurts, your friends are calling you out to relax, and your inner voice says, "Just skip today." That's the test. That's the defining moment. There's a reason few people finish what they start. It's not because they don't have time or talent. It's because they don't stay. They run when it gets boring. They distract themselves when it gets hard. They convince themselves that maybe this isn't working instead of pushing through the plateau. But the truth? The plateau is where your future self is forged. You see, relentless people aren't fearless. They feel the same doubt, fatigue, and boredom as everyone else. They just choose to act anyway. Relentlessness is a habit. It's not a mood. It's not something you feel. It's something you practice. And the beautiful irony, once you commit to staying relentless, something magical happens. The universe moves. Momentum builds. Your mind starts shifting. Your body adapts. Your habits solidify. And slowly, silently, you become someone new. Someone who doesn't beg for change. They command it. Someone who doesn't talk about someday. They build it today. So, if you're at that edge right now, wondering if it's worth it, if you're tired, uncertain, and tempted to slide back into the comfort you worked so hard to escape, remember this: No one can take away what you become through consistency, not failure, not rejection, not time. You are sculpting yourself with every decision, and the version of you that finishes strong, the version that stays committed even when no one claps, is the version that never needs external validation again. This isn't about becoming superhuman. It's about becoming someone who doesn't quit on themselves. And that, in a world of quick fixes and short attention spans, is a kind of power most people will never know. So stay relentless, because 90 days from now, when you walk into a room and people look at you like they've seen a ghost, like they're witnessing someone they can't quite place, you'll know the truth. You didn't just glow up, you transformed. You became unrecognizable because you refused to give up. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You don't need the perfect plan or the perfect people or the perfect moment. What you need is a decision, a real one that doesn't wait for permission, one that isn't scared of failure, one that says, "I'm done being who I used to be." Because in 90 days you could look in the mirror and not even recognize the old you. Not because you pretended to be someone else, but because you finally became who you were always meant to be. Most people don't glow up. They fade. They get older, not better. But you're here because something inside you refuses to settle for that. Something in you knows that comfort is a slow death. That fitting in is not your path. That playing small is betrayal. This episode wasn't about surface-level change. It was about full-scale rebirth. And if you felt something shift inside you, don't ignore it. Lean into it. Don't just listen. Build. Take this energy and do the uncomfortable, unglamorous, relentless work of transformation. And when doubt whispers, "You're still the same," show it the results. Show it the habits, show it the photos, the mindset, the glow in your eyes. This is your time to rebrand, not just your look, but your life. Rebuild your name, redefine your presence, rewrite your story, and most importantly, reintroduce yourself to yourself. Because the next time they see you, they won't believe it's you, and you'll smile, because you'll know that was the plan all along.